our exporters to South Africa are largely small to medium enterprises, while South African exporters are more established companies, mostly large companies. Whereas we are concerned about this imbalance, it is only part of the story. The bigger story is that Kenya and South Africa continue to lose the bigger opportunity that exists within the wider African market. We continue to trade more with the rest of the world than we trade within ourselves. Kenya and South Africa are not in any regional common tariff regime. So the low volume is not by accident. There's a reason to it. Any efforts for a bilateral solution, when we try to have a bilateral solution within each other, is facilitated by non-African countries invoking the most favored nation status. We are actually joined together more by music than by trade because of Kenyans' love for Kwaito music. Intra-Africa trade starts at 19%, as composed to 70% intra-EU trade. Yet, we have a low-hanging fruit in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, with a population of 1.2 billion people and $1.4 trillion GDP. To enable our 110 million people between our two countries trade with each other, and with the 1.1 billion Africans, it is important to talk to some countries to unlock the South African Custom Union so that we can kick off the guided trade mechanism that exists between ACFTA countries. And Kenya has indeed already started trading with some countries as far away as Ghana under this framework. Yet because of some of these bottlenecks, which are actually very solvable, we are unable to invoke the same to trade with our sister nation of South Africa. Even as we work on ACFTA, we have a lot to gain by activating the SACU EAC COMESA tripartite agreement, thus freeing trade among 800 million Africans. 11 countries have deposited TFTA agreements, and we need only 3 countries to deposit to make the agreement effective. Kenya and South Africa need and are going to work together to get the 3 countries out of the remaining countries that includes Tanzania, South Sudan, the DRC, Ethiopia, Eritrea, the Sudan, Libya, Tunisia, Lesotho, Mozambique, Seychelles, Comoros, Malawi, and Madagascar. Only of those 3 countries can unlock trade between 800 million people. And only one country within SACU, which I will not name in this distinguished gathering, but I have shared with our 2 excellencies, we need to do something so that indeed we start to trade one among 800 million people and secondly among the 1.2 billion people within the Africa continent. As we work under the prevailing conditions, Kenya and South Africa will not sit back. Do nothing is not an option. And we have agreed with the Minister Patel to set up a joint committee to unlock the non-tariff barriers which are hindering trade between our 2 nations. We had very strict instructions from our 2 presidents to do everything possible to look at the issues of logistics, to the issues of delays in our borders, and Kenya is actually taking the first step by establishing the first 2 bordered custom warehouses, one in Johannesburg and one in Pretoria, to support our SMEs so that they can be able to access the markets in a similar footing as our more established counterparts from South Africa. The Kenya and South Africa will work together to build a consensus among African countries around the issue of the renewal of the AGOA, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, with the US, and also the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership. And we have agreed that ahead of the US-Africa Summit that is going to take place next month in Washington, D.C., we are going to rally together the other African countries that are going to persuade our colleagues within the US administration, within the Congress, that extension of AGOA beyond 2025 is an issue of absolute necessity. The SCFTA conversation is not going to be a dialogue among governments only. The private sector voice must be on the table. In this regard, Kenya is proud to announce that in partnership with Standard Bank of South Africa, who are here today, we will host the first ever Africa Private Sector Alliance Conference in Nairobi in the first quarter of 2023 that will bring together Africa's top 50 companies in support of the ACFTA. So this is not going to be only a discussion among governments. We are working together to bring in a private sector, our big companies that have got the biggest influence within Africa, because ACFTA is not for the benefit of government. ACFTA has got its owners, and its owners are the private sector within the continent. Your Excellencies, I'm a very proud person, and I'm a very happy person today. 8 days ago, on my second day of work, I woke up in Pretoria to meet my counterpart, Minister Patel. Today, you've made us proud. The bold and brave decision that you've taken on the issue of visas for Kenyans in South Africa to South Africa can only be taken by brave men. And on behalf of our governments, our people, and our business community, I want to congratulate you, because surely fortune favors the bold. I think so we can say now, without fear of contradiction, that everyone who is in this room today can travel to South Africa on an ordinary passport without a visa, just as those who came to join us from South Africa came without a requirement for a visa. So thank you, Your Excellency, because you've made us equal and proud, and we are going to walk this journey together to actually be the leaders in the rest of the continent. Coupled with trade, we are now determined more than ever before to deepen our investment partnership by our two nations. And in this regard, we welcome our South African investors and counterparts to our PPP and Special Economic Zones investment conference, again, that will take place in the first quarter of next year, so that you can be able to showcase to interested investors like the likes of Transnet and Standard Bank of South Africa the many opportunities that exist within our PPP and our Special Economic Zone. To drive forward this economy going forward, Kenya has taken a deliberate decision that will partner with the private sector to free up the many opportunities that do exist. The role of financial services and telecoms in fostering the free trade area in Africa is pivotal, and Kenya welcomes South Africa financial institutions to set base in our Nairobi International Financial Center that will kick off shortly, and further welcome you to join our telcos in the setup of our joint smartphone project, which is undertaken by Kenya Telcos, and we have extended this invitation to South African telcos like MTN and Vodacom, so that we can continue mobile integration so that these are very important elements of fueling trade. And as we do so, we must also look at the issue of interoperability of our mobile money, because Kenya is a market leader using our M-Pesa. I look forward to going to South Africa and on an MTN, on a Vodacom network, being able to access money from my M-Pesa balance as a way of fueling African trade. Your Excellencies, the future of our continent lies in free flow of trade and investment. Kenya and South Africa have a cardinal role to play in this regard. We are the firstborns of free trade in Africa, and that comes with extra responsibility. We are equal to the task, and we are committed to this. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And now it is my distinguished pleasure to ask that we may be upstanding as I welcome the